first thing I do when I hear about an exam is I write down the date of it, as this means I know how long I have to study for, and it just makes me more organised and I'm not stressing figuring out when it's going to be.
It's definitely better to prepare for exams sooner rather than later, especially because if you prepare for them too late then you might find yourself cramming.
I start to prepare for my exams right at the beginning of the course,
which allows me to go over everything that we've learned and keeps it fresh in my memory.
It reduces stress and workload.
I make flashcards for each topic after each lesson. I'll do the ISP on time, make sure to consolidate as I go.
Do some extra reading, find past papers, etc.
Then when it comes to exam season, I already have all of my revision materials and I don't need to spend any more time making them.
I try to revise 4 to 5 months before my exams.
This gives me a large head start to separate knowledge I do know from the knowledge that I need to work on.
It also gives you time to pick up on points you don't understand, for you to speak to your teachers and for you to get more help on it.
Revising gradually and consistently rather than too much in a short space of time is a better way to revise.
I can set a study schedule, so for what days I'm going to be learning what subject.
This keeps exam stress low and allows you to cover the content in time.
While everybody's stressing and pulling all-nighters revising, you're secure in that knowledge you're about to be tested on because you've prepared for it and gone over it so many times right from the very beginning.
I create a loose revision timetable about a month before my first exam so that I don't miss out any topics and ensure that I revise everything by the time the first exam comes along.
So when it comes to revising, I think having your own specific timetable is going to really benefit you.
This is one I made earlier and what I will usually work towards. I like to work in 2-hour blocks so that I can actually focus and sit down and do some work.
In a timetable, it's important to arrange your study chunks in a way that's best for you. I recommend studying little and often to help you to concentrate and not to feel overworked.
I will take many breaks, so the clear breaks or the one without pen are normal breaks, but then the green breaks is when I would usually want to go out, maybe go for a run or go for a walk so I can actually get into a different headspace and relax.
I make sure to put the topics I struggle with most a few times on the timetable, and the ones that I know really well I'll only go over once or twice.
So my revision timetable is colour-coded to subjects and also topic specific, so I know exactly what I'm revising and when.
I find colour coding revision sessions and break times also useful because it's easier to see.
I definitely create a revision timetable. I'd be completely lost without mine. I use a website called Get Revising, which generates a timetable, does the recommended amount of study, and it will always make sure that you have a rest in it, so it almost forces you to make sure you're stopping.
My kind of timetable involves 6 days of revision with 1 day off, 2 days for each of my 3 subjects. It helps me to prepare for my exams as it keeps me on top of all 3 subjects and to ensure that I am not favouring one subject over another.
I personally have a very free revision timetable, so this just means that I'll do certain subjects on certain days rather than assigning a specific hour to spend on a specific subject.
I don't stick to a strict revision timetable because I never know how long it will take me to revise a certain topic, and I don't like putting time restraints on any tasks as it puts pressure on me to complete them in a certain time frame.
I use the app My Study Plan, which I use as a guideline for how many hours I should be doing on each subject per week. It's also useful in reminding me to study via notifications on my phone.
If you're someone that comes to revising and you have so much revision you need to do, you don't know what to prioritise, I think laying out a timetable and equaling out all of your topics will be really beneficial because you'll find yourself completing all the revision really successfully.
When revising for exams, I like to have as much variety in my revision as possible. I will do a lot of past papers, which I'll sometimes do in one sitting or sometimes split into 40-minute chunks. I also make flashcards throughout the year which contain exam questions that come up often or ones I've struggled with.
So my main focus when it comes to exams is doing past papers. I feel like this is really beneficial because it kind of gives you a mindset of what to expect in your exam.
Doing past paper questions is also a form of active revision, which is crucial in order to avoid wasting valuable time with passive revision such as highlighting notes and rereading something which you already know.
I also think past papers are really beneficial because it gives you a clear structure of questions you should expect.
After some time, you'll start seeing a pattern in the way the questions are worded, and nothing unexpected will come up in the exam.
I like to take past papers off the official exam board website. This helps me as I can see the examiner's comments from each question from previous years, which is useful not to make the same silly mistakes as the past years made, and is helpful to tell me how to be more concise in my answers that may be too long.
I also think posters are a very beneficial way. So when I was doing my GCSEs, my whole room was covered in posters. Every morning I'd wake up and I'd read one of them. And I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember learning that.
And that also brings me to my massive box of sticky notes. These help as I can just put them around my room and I walk past them, I glance at it and it stays in my memory.
I read out of a textbook or take notes from the textbook. Sometimes I've just photocopied a page and then just tip X one side with important keywords out. Kind of read the page on the other side, flipped it over and written in the blanks. I feel that's quite good because it helps me identify what I need.
I use my map to prepare for my exams. I put a topic or question I know that will come up on the paper and brainstorm everything I know about that. Then I will go back to my notes or textbook and add everything else I didn't know in another colour.
One thing I have which is very useful is these, which are basically flashcards, and they really help me remember things as it's just small and quick.
In terms of remembering content, flashcards are really helpful. I stopped doing them in paper a while ago, so I use Quizlet. The little games they do on Quizlet are really good as well. So you make your flashcards and they do like little memory games. So if you've got to learn a lot of content, or like for me with history, dates, that is the best website.
If you're struggling with revision, try out different revision and study styles. You don't have to stick to just one, and different subjects are suited to different styles.
Another method I use and I've had quite a lot of success with in sport especially is a revision clock. So it kind of speaks for itself, but you have a clock in the middle of the page and then you draw out every 5 minutes with lines, and you essentially put a heading at the top and just write everything in 5 minutes that you know about that subject. But what's important to remember is for every 5 minutes you're working, you should take 5 minutes off, just have a break because it's quite intensive and full on. I'd say as a short-term method of revision, it's probably one of the best things I've done.
Maybe get a study partner. For example, if you don't understand it and you can't find it anywhere, asking someone may be a bit more useful than reading on a piece of paper.
I would tell them to structure their revision based on the topics they need to learn. This helps them to avoid just revising what they're good at, and it also helps to make revision less daunting for them so that they know exactly what they need to revise.
I'd say be consistent. Do a little every day rather than burn yourself out with long days.
My main tips when revising is not to do too much in one go. I find that I retain information a lot more when I recap it in small chunks but more frequently. 10 to 20 minutes can go a long way if used right.
It's also really important to avoid cramming, as the information will leave your brain as quickly as it entered it. So 1 hour a day for 7 days is better than cramming 7 hours into one day, for example.
I'd firstly advise them to try out different spaces for their revision, whether this is a study room, your bedroom, the library, college.
And attend as many after school sessions if they have any running as well.
Making sure you have a good break, and not a break where you stare at your phone for 20 minutes, but making sure you have something to eat and you just completely clear your mind.
They can always ask the teacher for feedback. They know exactly what they need to revise, and they can always ask us peer mentors for feedback as well.
If you're struggling, I would definitely recommend speaking to someone, for example a family member, as they can help you relieve your stress.
Remember, don't worry if you feel frustrated or at a loss, as there's always someone around college, whether it's your peers or staff members, or wherever you are, to recommend things for finding what works best for you.
Please make sure to like, subscribe and press the bell.
Like, subscribe and press the bell button.
Like, subscribe and press the bell.
Like, subscribe, press the bell.
Like, subscribe and press the bell.
Like, subscribe and press the bell.
Like, subscribe and press the bell to know when the next video goes live.